Okay, so it's time to crank up the juice just a bit more. Now we've got x cubed plus x on top and x minus 1 on the bottom. Once again, we can't do this with a simple u substitution, so what will we do? Well, first of all, let's divide this fraction out and make it simpler. So what we have is x cubed plus 0x squared plus x divided by x minus 1. Oh no, you have to remember algebra too. So what do you multiply x by to get x cubed? And that's going to be x squared. So x squared times x is x cubed, and we change signs and add. X squared times a minus 1 is a negative x squared, change signs and add. So we end up with no x cubed, 1x squared. Now we bring down the x. What do you multiply x to get x squared? X. Okay, so x times x is x squared, change signs and add. X times a minus 1 is minus x, change signs and add. Okay, so we end up with 2x, and that's our remainder. So, so now we go x squared plus x plus 2x over x minus 1. Rats. We don't do that yet. Okay, cut, take 2. We don't have a remainder of 2x. You say, what do you multiply x by to get 2x? And that's going to be 2. Now we go 2 times x is 2x. Change signs and add. 2 times a minus 1 is a minus 2. Change signs and add. So now we end up with 2. So our remainder is 2 over x minus 1. Okay, so now our new function is going to be the integral of x squared plus x plus 2 plus 2 over x minus 1 dx. Well, now it's a piece of cake, because you just integrate x squared, and that's going to be x cubed over 3. Integrate your x, and that's going to be x squared over 2. Integrate your 2, and that's going to be 2x. And integrate your 2 over x minus 1, and that's going to be 2 times natural log of the absolute value of x minus 1 plus c, of course. That's it, game over. Okay, now let's crank up the juice just a bit here. So this time we're going to have more factors than just 1, or more factors than just 2. Okay, so we start with the integral of x squared plus 2x minus 1 over 2x cubed plus 3x squared minus 2x. It's actually nicer in class when I can just tell you guys to read it to me instead of me having to remember everything. But okay, so now we got to break down this monstrosity into our bite-sized chunks. So we're going to factor 2x cubed plus 3x squared minus 2x. So clearly, there's an x in all three terms. So we can say 2x cubed plus 3x squared minus 2x equals x times 2x squared plus 3x minus 2. Okay, now, what multiplies to get negative 4 that adds to get 3? And the answer is 4 and negative 1. So this just becomes x times 2x squared plus 4x minus x minus 2. See, we rewrote the middle term, 4 and negative 1, according to what multiplied to get the end terms that adds to get the middle term. Piece of cake. Okay, so now we group it 2 and 2. So it's going to be x times the quantity 2x squared plus 4x minus x plus 2. And notice I factor the minus out, so I have two groups. Now I get the greatest common factor out of the first group, which is 2x. And so what am I left with? X plus 2. And then I take the greatest common factor out of the second group, which is just 1. Now you don't actually have to write the 1 outside of here, but it helps you to remember that this is going to be 2x minus 1 times x plus 2. So the final factored version of the denominator ends up being x times 2x minus 1 times x plus 2. Now, if you think this is too long, then you could just start by taking what'll work between 2x squared and a minus 2. So you can say, well, okay, 2x squared has to be a 2x times an x. And then you can just mess around with the other numbers to make it fit. So you've got 2x times 2 is 4x, minus x is 3x, and negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. So just make sure it works. You should be able to do this because I happen to know you had an excellent Algebra 2 teacher. You had an excellent Algebra 2 teacher. Okay, so now this whole thing then is going to be the integral of, well, okay, now we've got the bottom. Now we have to make the top. It's going to be a over x plus b over x 2x minus 1 plus c over x plus 2. Alright, so the name of the game now is we have to figure out what a, b, and c are the same way we just did before. So, if I want to get common denominators, then I just say the common denominators have to be the product of all three of these. So that means the a is missing the 2x minus 1 and the x plus 2. The b is missing the x and the x plus 2. And the c is missing the x and the 2x minus 1. Okay, so now, just like we did before, we're going to say what we have in the numerator has to equal what we have in the numerator from the beginning. So that means that we've got a times 2x minus 1 times x plus 2 plus bx times x plus 2 plus cx times 2x minus 1 has to equal you know what, let's get rid of this. Cut take 2. Okay, now we have a little more room. So we go a times 2x minus 1 times x plus 2 plus bx times x plus 2 plus cx times 2x minus 1 has to equal x squared plus 2x minus 1. Okay, so we're going to do the same technique. We're going to say, I need to solve for a first. That means I need to get rid of b and c. Well, what can I make x equal that will get rid of b and c but not a? If x is 0, then b and c are gone. So let's let x equal 0. So what I have then is a times negative 1. Let's just do this. A times negative 1 times 2 is going to be negative 2a. Plus 0b plus 0c equals 0 plus 0 minus 1. So that means a equals in half. Okay, now we need to find out what b is. So we need to let a and c drop out. Well, what can we make x that's going to make both a and c drop out? 1/2. If we make x 1/2, then a and c are both gone. Nice. Okay, so x is 1/2. That means a is gone. B times 1/2 times 5/2. So that's going to be b times 1/2 times 2.5 plus c times 0 is going to equal 1/2 squared, which is 1/4, plus 2 times 1/2, which is 1, minus 1. Okay, so what we have is 5/4 b equals 1/4. So that means we multiply both sides by 4/5, and we end up with b equals 5. Wait, something has gone awry. Stop. Let's go back and get this right. Okay, so b equals b equals 1/4 times 4/5. Oh yeah, I knew something had gone awry. Okay, b equals 1/5. That's much better. Okay, now we need to find c. That means we need to let a and b drop out. So if we let x equal -2, a and b drop out. Okay, so if x is negative 2, there is no a, there is no b, but we have c times negative 2 times negative 5. So that's c times 10 equals negative 2 squared, which is 4, minus 4 minus 1. So that means c equals negative 1/10. Okay, now we put everything back in up here, and we have the integral of a, which is 1/2, over x, plus 1/5 over 2x minus 1, plus, no, make that minus, minus 1/10 over x plus 2 dx. Okay, so I can do the integration now, and I'm going to end up with 1/2 natural log of x, or the absolute value of x, plus, now, this is a situation where we're actually doing a u substitution, so it's got to be 1/2 to counteract this 2. So it's going to be 1/5 times 1/2 is 1/10 natural log of the absolute value of 2x minus 1 minus 1/10 times natural log of x plus 2. Of course, we would never forget our plus c. That's it, game over. Okay, so let's recap the action. In any case, you know you have to factor the denominator. And in this case, you're going to have 3 linear factors. So that means you're going to have an a over the first, b over the second, c over the third. So you have to get common denominators. And so basically you're going to have a times what's under b and c, plus b times what's under a and c, plus c times what's under a and b. And then you have your factored denominator. Then we just say the numerator on the right has to equal the numerator on the left. So you set it up. Then you say what's going to make 2 of these drop out and keep the third one. And so we solve for a, b, and c that way. Now we have 3 linear denominators that we can just do natural log. And the only thing to watch out for is make sure when you have a coefficient in front of the x that you keep that in mind when you do your integration. So that's it. On to the next one.